Hello friends, welcome to JavaScript video tutorial series. In the previous video tutorial, we started discussing JavaScript looping or iterative statements. We understood that to execute a single statement or set of statements repeatedly, we use looping or iterative statements. For loop, while loop, do while loop and for in loop are considered as JavaScript looping or iterative statements. In this video tutorial, I would like to discuss for loop. Browser executes the statement or set of statements inside for loop until the given conditional expression evaluates to false. Browser executes the statement or set of statements inside the for loop or for block until the given conditional expression evaluates to false. This is the basic syntax of the for loop. We write the for keyword. Within the pair of parentheses, we write initialization statement, conditional expression, increment or decrement statement. In the pair of flower brackets, we write a single statement or set of statements for repeated execution. Let me explain this for syntax clearly. I'm going to copy this syntax from here. Go to MS Paint. I paste here that syntax and let me increase the size to 20 so that you can see the content properly. The for loop has four parts. The first part is the initialization part and the second part is the conditional expression. The third part is this block and the fourth part is the increment or decrement statement. Let me explain how this for loop will be executed by the browser or the control. Sometimes I use the term control or the browser, both are same, okay? When the control hits to the for loop, first it executes the initialization statement, that is the first part. After executing the first part, the control moves to the second part, that is the conditional expression. If this conditional expression evaluates to true, then the control moves to the third part. It enters this block and executes the block. It executes all the statements available in the block. After executing the third part, the control moves to the fourth part. After executing the fourth part, the control moves to the second part. You can see that it is not moving to the first part, it is moving to the second part. Again, this conditional expression will be evaluated. If it is true, then the control executes the third part. After executing the third part, it moves to the fourth part. After executing the fourth part, it goes to the second part. It checks the condition again. If it is true, it moves to the third part, executes the third part, and after executing the third part, it goes to the fourth part. After executing the fourth part, it goes to the second part. Again, it checks the conditional expression. If it is true, it executes the third part. Like that, the loop will be executed. The second part, third part, fourth part will be executed in a loop until the second part, the conditional expression, evaluates to false. If the conditional expression evaluates to false, then the control moves or exits the for loop and executes any statements below the for loop. That is how the for loop works, friends. Here I have an example for explanation. You can see we have written a for keyword in pair of parentheses where I is equal to 1, which is a declaration of a variable I and initializing it to 1. Then I is less than or equal to 5, which is a conditional expression which evaluates to true or false. Then I++, that is an increment statement. In pair of flower brackets, we have a single statement for execution, that is document.write hello world and break. Move the cursor to the next line. Let me explain how this code works and what it displays. I'm going to copy this code from here. I go to MS Paint again and I paste that code here, Control V, and let me increase the size to 20 so that you can see the code properly. And we know that this is the first part, that is initialization. This is the second part, that is conditional expression, and this is the third part, which is the block of code for execution, and this is the fourth part, increment statement. And what happens when the browser hits or the control hits the for loop? It executes first initialization statement where I is equal to 1. Where I is equal to 1 means what? The browser is going to create one memory location for I and puts the value inside it 1. That's what it does. After executing the initialization statement, first part, the control moves to the second part. We are checking here whether I is less than or equal to 5. I is 1. 1 is less than 5. So it is true. As it is true, the control moves to the third part and executes the third part. At present, assume that this is the browser window. The document.write is going to display the hello world in the browser, and as there is a break tag, the cursor will be moved to the next line. After executing the third part, the control moves to the fourth part, I++. I++ means increment the I value by 1. At present I is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, so it becomes 2 now. After executing the fourth part, the control moves to the second part. Again, the condition will be checked whether I is less than or equal to 5. I is 2. 2 is less than 5. It is true. As this condition is true, the third part will be executed. Document.write hello world. So once again the hello world will be displayed and the cursor will be moved to the next line. After executing the third part, the control moves to the fourth part, I++. Now the I value becomes 3. After executing the fourth part, the second part will be executed. We are checking the condition whether I is less than or equal to 5. 3 is less than 5, so the condition is true. As the condition is true, the third part will be executed. The document.write will display the hello world once again in the browser and moves the cursor to the next line. After executing the third part, the control moves to the fourth part, again I++. Now the I value is going to become 4. You can see that I value is incrementing 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, right? So I is considered as a counter variable. It is responsible for counting how many number of times the loop got executed. After executing the fourth part, the control moves to the second part again. Again we are checking the condition whether I is less than or equal to 5. I is 4. 4 is less than 5 is true. As the condition is true, the third part will be executed. Once again the hello world will get displayed and the cursor will be moved to the next line as there is a break tag. After executing the third part, the control moves to the fourth part, I++. Now the I value becomes 5. Now it moves to the second part whether I is less than or equal to 5. 5 is less than 5, that is not true, but 5 is equal to 5 is true. Any one condition is true, the result will be true. So this is again true. As the condition is true, the third part will be executed. We see one more time the hello world displayed in the browser window and the cursor will be moved to the next line. After executing the third part, it goes to the fourth part, I++. Now the I value becomes 6. Then it goes to the second part. What happens now? I is less than or equal to 5. I is 6. 6 is less than 5 is false because 6 is greater than 5. 6 is equal to 5, that is also false. So as both the conditions are false, the result will be false. As the result will be false, the control will not execute the third part. It moves outside the for block and executes if any statements are there outside. So we should see hello world displayed 5 times in the browser if I write this code and execute. Let's see that. I minimize the MS Paint and Word. I right click on default.html, open with the notepad. You can see that default.html is open in the notepad. It has the basic HTML document structure code written. Title is set to JavaScript loops demo, and within the body section we have an opening script tag and a closing script tag. I minimize it. I right click on default.html, open with the Google Chrome. You can see that default.html is open in the Chrome. Title is set to JavaScript loops demo. I go to notepad. Within the script tag I say for where I is equal to 1. This is an initialization statement, and then I is less than or equal to 5, conditional expression, I++, which is an increment statement. In pair of flower brackets I say here document.write hello world, and then I use a break tag to move the cursor to the next line. File, save, go to browser and refresh. You can see that hello world is displayed 5 times. So we understood the things properly. Let me explain how exactly the browser is executing this code, whether we have understood this properly or not. We see this in real time. I go to browser, I take help of this option button, go to more tools and developer tools. Okay, in the sources you can see the source code. What I do actually is I modify this for loop formatting, just put these statements in the next line. Okay, so that we can see the execution properly. File, save, go to browser and refresh. There is no problem in the execution and you can see the formatting has been done. I put a breakpoint here so that we can pause the execution on this line. Refresh. You can see that the execution is paused on line number 9 and you can see I is still undefined because the for loop is not executed. I take help of this step over button. If I click on the step over button, the initialization statement got executed. The I value is 1. Now the conditional expression will be checked whether I is less than or equal to 5. If you see, it is going to be evaluated to true. I say step over. As this condition is true, the control has moved inside the block and it is going to execute this statement. I say step over. You can see hello world is displayed, and from the third part you can see that the control moved to the fourth part, I++. At present I value is 1. If I step over, it is incremented to 2 and the control is moved to the second part. You can see that it is moved to the second part. Again the conditional expression will be evaluated whether I is less than or equal to 5. I is 2. So 2 is less than or equal to 5 is true. As this condition expression evaluates to true, the control moves inside the block. See that? Right? Now the hello world is going to be displayed and the control moves to the fourth part, that is increment or decrement. I value is 2. I say step over. Now the I value is incremented to 3 and control moved to the second part. Now 3 is less than 5 is true. Step over. Hello world will be displayed and control move to the fourth part, and I is 3. Step over. Now the I value is 4. The conditional expression will be evaluated whether 4 is less than or equal to 5 is true. Moves inside the block. It displays one more time hello world and move to the fourth part, I++. Now the I value is going to become 5. You can see that I value became 5. Whether 5 is less than or equal to 5, that is true. This is true because 5 is equal to 5. As this conditional expression evaluates to true, the block will be executed. You can see that. After executing this I++, now the I value is 5. If I say step over, I value becomes 6. 6 is less than 5 is going to be false because 6 is greater than 5, 16 equal to 5 is also false. As both the conditions are false, the control moves outside the for. You can see that, right? And also you can observe it has displayed hello world 5 times. That is how the browser is going to execute the statements, friends. I just say continue and remove this breakpoint, close. I hope you guys have clearly understood how the for loop is going to be executed. And remember that the for loop is considered as entry control loop. Entry control loop means whether the control or the browser should enter inside this block or not is decided at the entrance. At the entrance time only we check the condition. If the condition is true, then the control enters the block. Otherwise, it will not enter the block. It just comes outside the for loop. So that's the reason it's called as entry control loop. And one more note you should remember is, when you know exactly how many number of times the loop is going to get executed, use for loop. When you know exactly that I need to execute this statement 5 times, 10 times, like exact amount of time, then you should use the for loop. Okay, that is when to use a for loop. Remember that for loop should be used when you know that how many number of times the loop should get executed or how many number of times the loop is going to get executed. You should use the for loop. So that is all about for loop. I think for this video tutorial, this much is enough, friends. In the next video tutorial, we get more information on JavaScript loops. I suggest you people to watch this video again and again, understand everything clearly. For more benefits and be up to date, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to like, comment and share these videos with others so that everyone will get benefited. Keep learning, keep coding, keep sharing. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. See you in the next tutorial.